and in today's video we're going to talk about what it's really like to live in Prescott, Arizona. Now, Prescott is one of those towns that people either fall in love with instantly or decide it's really not for them. And so in this video I'm going to go over some pros and some cons of living in Prescott, Arizona, so you can decide if it might be the right place for you. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I'll teach you everything there is to know about living in the Northern Arizona towns. My name is Dawn Dickinson. I am a real estate agent and I sell primarily in Sedona, Arizona, Verde Valley, Flagstaff, sometimes Prescott, and Phoenix. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, please reach out to me. My contact information is always in the description below. Now, if you are interested in buying or selling a home in Prescott, I certainly can help you out, but I want you to know I am not primarily working in Prescott. It's a secondary area for me, but I do have a team of agents, some partner agents who are very good, and I could also set you up with one of them if you are interested in buying or selling a home in Prescott. So again, reach out to me and I can hook you up with a very good, experienced agent in that area. Okay, so let's go over some of the pros and cons. I'm going to start with the cons. Usually in my videos I start with the pros of living in a town, but today I'm just going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to start with some of the cons of living in Prescott, and one of them is housing costs. Housing costs in Prescott actually are kind of high, especially since the year 2000, where prices really went up everywhere, and that is no different in Prescott, Arizona. Let me give you some stats right now. In Prescott, just Prescott, not Prescott Valley or the whole area, but the median list price for single-family home is about $800,000, and the price per square foot is about $343 a square foot. Now, if you are thinking of renting in Prescott, median rent price about $24.50 a month, and the market action index, let me tell you a little bit about that. It's 38. Basically, that tells you if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, and at 38, that means it's a little bit more of a seller's market. Now, you may be hearing on the radio or on YouTube or on the news that, oh, the real estate market is crashing and Arizona is crashing terribly, but that's not necessarily true in northern Arizona. A lot of times the news you'll see about Arizona is driven heavily in Phoenix, and Phoenix is a whole different beast than Prescott. So Prescott, again, Verde Valley or Flagstaff, a different beast in northern Arizona. So don't necessarily think it's crashing in some of these small towns like Prescott, Sedona, and Flagstaff, because we are still a little more balanced in the north, and in some cities we are considered still a seller's market. But again, high cost of housing in Prescott, that is one of the downsides of living there. Okay, number two is tourism crowds. Prescott is another one of the towns in northern Arizona that is a very heavy tourist destination. In fact, there are certain times of the year that are worse than the others, but you know, places will be crowded, restaurants crowded, a lot of traffic. Sometimes the locals get a little bit annoyed over that. I also live in a tourist town, Sedona, just a little bit north of Prescott, and I can relate. Sometimes the tourism can be a little bit of a bummer. Now, it is always nice to talk to some of the nice, friendly people that are visiting the area, but again, the congestion and some of the things can make it a little bit of a downer if you are living in Prescott. Okay, number three is there is a little bit of a limited job opportunities, limited job market in Prescott. If you're not in like healthcare, education, hospitality, some of those careers, not a lot of jobs. And so if you are coming to Prescott without a job, thinking you're going to find something, that could be a little bit disappointing or a little bit frustrating. Of course, in Arizona, Phoenix is the big job hub. Many opportunities in Phoenix, and I've had people come say, I'm moving to Phoenix for a job, and maybe I should live to Prescott and commute to Phoenix. I would advise against that unless you are working in the very north part of town, or possibly if you're going to get a job at that new TSMC plant, it might be feasible way north, but actually It's not so much the distance, but the traffic getting out of Phoenix. I wouldn't want to do that every day. But like I said, if you're in the far north part of Phoenix, TSMC, or maybe in north, say Anthem, New River, you could pull it off. But again, limited job market is a little bit of a con if you're thinking of moving to Prescott. All right, number 4 is the traffic bottleneck. Now, of course, any of the traffic that I whine and complain about in northern Arizona towns like Flagstaff, Sedona, and Prescott included, seems a little bit minor compared to the traffic that you see in Phoenix. Phoenix has now become miniature Los Angeles, but there is a lot of traffic in Prescott. It has grown very fast, and it's hard for the roads and the infrastructure to keep up with it, especially on the 69. It does back up a little bit, so that can be a bit of a downer. Now, some people have complained about allergies. I don't know. I have lived in Arizona since 1970, so my body has gotten used to some of the local allergens, but there are some people that move over and they have a problem with like the juniper trees, the cottonwood trees, and some of the dry air if you are very sensitive. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, number 6 is a limited nightlife. There is in Prescott Valley the big Findlay Toyota Center, so a lot of times you do have some concerts there that you could go to at night. There's some very good restaurants and everything, but they're not like a lot of great places to go clubbing if you're not a lot of theater, if you're into, certainly not ballet, opera, that kind of stuff. But I think it's more the clubbing that people seem to be into, and Prescott is a little bit lacking if that's what you are looking for. Okay, number 7, the risk of wildfire. I mean, we are very close to the forest. Actually, some homes are either in the Bradshaw Mountains or like right up against the Bradshaw Mountains. A lot of the big ponderosa pines is a very high risk of forest fire, especially in the last decade or so. It seems like we've gotten quite a few more of those, and so, you know, that's very unsettling. I actually live in Sedona, and just a couple of weeks ago there was a wildfire very close to my home, and I was on standby to evacuate. That can be very unsettling. In fact, if you're moving there, you might not think, it's not that big of a deal, but trust me, when you get the text from the county, by county, saying, you know, you're on set status to evacuate because of the fire, you get a little bit nervous and you may change your tune. The other problem with the wildfire risk is it makes some cases your homeowner insurance could have gone up. Mine has gone up greatly in Sedona. Now, one thing I noticed that there are people in my same block that have same size house as mine. My house is like $1,900 a year to insure and it's gone up probably because of fire risk. It was initially about $800 a month. Now it's $1,900. Someone on the same block as me is paying for the same size house $1,200, but they're the same provider too. I was the one that referred them. They're paying $1,200 a year. So what I'm thinking the difference may be is their house is fully brick and mine is like wood over stucco over wood. So again, if you're interested in buying a house, if you see one you really like, I might recommend first calling your insurance agency and seeing what kind of a homeowner insurance policy you would have, because again, a slight higher risk of wildfire, and of course that could make your homeowner's insurance go up, and that is going to be in addition to already high home prices. All right, con number 8 is an older demographic. That is a lot of people move into Prescott area that are retirement age, so that puts the median age a little bit higher. And if you're coming with a family, or if you're like in your 20s or 30s, you might not like this so much now. Again, it's great if you're older. A lot of people who are older that are either pre-retirement or getting ready to retirement are the ones that are able to afford the higher price tags. So that just seems to be how it falls out. But older demographic, if you don't like that, if you're looking to have a lot of people your age, you might want to consider going to Flagstaff, because again, actually is higher elevation, the mountain town, but it's a college town, so you have a much younger demographic. So if you're in your 30s or 40s or even your 20s looking for a place to settle, you could be a little bit turned off by the older demographic. Of course, that doesn't bother me because I'm already old, but if you're younger, that could be an issue. Okay, number 9, things that people don't like is there's not a lot of public transportation, so you are probably going to need a car, or you're going to need to have someone in your family or a friend that can maybe drive you around. Not a place to move to if you're thinking you're going to take a bus or catch an Uber like very quickly, that kind of thing. So not a lot of, I'm not going to say there's none, but not a lot of public transportation options. Number 10 is going to be weather extremes. Now I'm going to also lump in with slightly thinner air because it's at a higher elevation, around the 5,000 foot mark. I did not look up the exact number, but because of that, actually a very nice and cooler, I should say, in the summertime temperatures, but it can get cold in the winter. You can get some snow and ice, so that might be something that you're concerned about. Also, at a higher elevation, some people have breathing issues. They might struggle to catch their breath. If you have any type of lung condition, that could maybe rule out Prescott for you. But again, the weather can be cold in the winter. You can get more monsoons in the summer. You could get a blinding snowstorm. You can get a snowstorm, I should say. So some of the weather extremes, people are concerned about that, especially older population that is attracted to Prescott. Then maybe over the winter time, they might think, it's a little bit colder than I was expecting. Okay, 11, limited health care. Now, Prescott does have a couple of very good hospitals, lots of doctors, but maybe if you have a specialized need, a chronic condition, you may end up traveling to Phoenix to get to a specialist. Now again, Prescott not that far from North Phoenix. You could get to there in less than an hour. So maybe you don't mind if you need a specialist, but again, a couple of good hospitals, but not a great place to have a lot of options and a lot of variety for healthcare providers. Okay, number 12, I'm going to say is there's a little bit of a snobbery, people that live in Prescott, especially if you've lived there a long time, on the way you pronounce the name of the city. I like to say Prescott, although I will say it either way. Prescott, Prescott. I don't actually care. I don't think it's a big deal. But a lot of the locals get really bent out of shape if you don't say it the way that they want you to say it, which is Prescott, like biscuit, and they'll get in your face. I mean, go back to any of my videos about Prescott or Prescott Valley and go through the comments, and there's going to be every third or fourth comment somebody saying, it's pronounced Prescott. You know, like they're so superior because they say the town the way they want to and not the way you want to say it. Number 13 is a lot of the people that live in Prescott have conservative political views. Now, I don't know why people get so bent out of shape if you don't match with your exact opinion on politics, but if you're less conservative, maybe you wouldn't like it there because it does seem to lean a little bit more Republican than Democrat, and if you're very into it and don't like that, won't feel comfortable living next to somebody who may be a Republican, then maybe think twice about moving to Prescott and maybe move to Tucson instead. Okay, so now let's get into some of the pros or the pluses of moving to Prescott. Remember, I said that the weather concerns were a negative for some people, but for other people, it is actually a plus. I would say it's actually a plus. I enjoy the weather, especially if you go to Prescott in the summertime. The weather is nice. The temperatures aren't that high compared to Phoenix, of course, and even lower temperatures in the summer and in the winter than where I live in Sedona. So nice climate, and you get 4 seasons. A lot of people from Arizona complain, oh, we don't have 4 seasons. Well, you do in some of the northern Arizona towns, and Prescott is one of those that have nice 4 seasons where you can definitely tell when fall comes and you can see leaves changing colors and falling. That is a town in Arizona where you can have 4 seasons. Okay, number 2 is beautiful scenery. Oh my goodness, there are many places where you have a great view. You've got the Bradshaw Mountains on the south side. You have the Mingus Mountain Range on the north side. You have beautiful places to go hike. You've got like Watson Lake that has these unique boulders of granite. So lots of really pretty views and things to do, which brings me to my number 3, which is there's a lot of outdoor recreation opportunities. You can go hiking, you can go mountain bike, you can ride your side-by-sides, you can go 4-wheeling, you can go to Watson Lake, you can go fishing. So many outdoor activities, outdoor recreation, very strong plus to moving in Prescott. Okay, so number 5, I'm going to say there is pretty strong community feel, especially if you go into the middle of the town squares. Very nice people, seem to be patriotic, they seem to be doing things together and shopping, going to restaurants. There are some fun festivals that I have seen, which puts me at number 6 is the fun festivals and events like the world's oldest rodeo event, holiday parades, art walks. Oh, and you wouldn't believe the stuff that goes on around the holidays, how beautiful it is. But there's Prescott, there's always something up around Halloween over like in that center of the highway area. Everybody decorates their house and kids go trick-or-treating. It's awesome. And then the same time, same kind of thing around Christmas, where that area, the old Victorian looking houses, they all decorate for Christmas. Definitely, even if you're not thinking of moving there, just to go around Halloween and around Christmas, to just drive, first of all, through the square and then up that old center highway just to see how beautifully the old Victorian homes are decorated. That is very nice. Definitely a pro to living in Prescott. Now, number 7 is, I did say healthcare is a little bit of a down, but honestly, it could be a pro too, because actually for the size of the community, it's a small town, probably around 45,000 residents. It does have a fair number of healthcare options that you don't have to necessarily try to Phoenix unless you have some more chronic conditions. So that, even though I had it as a negative, it could also be a plus. And again, number 8, the retirement community. Like, again, if you're younger, you might not like it because there's an older demographic, but there are a lot of people that are retired or pre-retired, and so there's a lot of retirement communities, a lot of things to do to get to know your neighbors in older 55 plus communities if you are on the verge of retirement or if you're already retired. Number 9 is a lot of people that live in Prescott feel safer because it has relatively lower crime rate than some of the other parts of the nation and even some of the parts of Arizona. Definitely a lower crime rate than a lot of the parts of Phoenix and the Valley. Even slightly lower crime rate than Flagstaff, say. So if you're older or you just want to feel safe, that is definitely a plus. Pro number 10 is Prescott does have a very rich history. At one point, it was the capital of Arizona. It does have a beautiful town square, and there are a lot of old stories if you are a history buff and are learning or interested in learning more about history of Arizona. And the last thing I'm going to mention as a pro is it is pretty central location in the state of Arizona. Again, you could get to Phoenix in probably about an hour. You could get north, you can get to Sedona in maybe an hour. I actually live in Sedona, so I can get to Prescott in an hour. You can get to Flagstaff maybe an hour and a half. So lots of places that you can go. Again, smaller population, small town feel, but again, a good part of the state to be in where you're not low like the desert and you're not far from the big city of Phoenix, the airport and things like that, even though you're maybe an hour and a half away from the airport. Nice central location. So that's it. That's all I have to tell you today about the pros and cons of living in Prescott, Arizona. If you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, please reach out to me. My name is Dawn Dickinson. My contact information is always in the description below. I post videos every single week about living in the northern Arizona town. So again, if you want to buy or sell a home, if it's not an area that I service, I can set you up with another agent who works that area. So give me a call, text, or an email, and I will get back to you. The channel Living in Northern Arizona. If you like the video, please consider giving me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you back here next week with a brand new video.